In the first scene, we meet Levon Cade, a guy sleeping in his car. No rent, no bills, just pure budget living. He steps out, takes like 2 steps, and boom, he's already at work. His car is parked right at the construction site. Talk about a short commute. At the site, folks seem to like him. One of the workers even brings him some homemade Mexican food. He keeps the crew's spirits up, barks out a few work tasks, and keeps the place running. Then he walks into the site office where the boss, Joe Garcia, and his daughter Jenny are doing the family business thing. Jenny hands Levon some paperwork. After that, she casually asks her dad for a fat chunk of cash to celebrate finishing 1 semester of college. Joe isn't thrilled, but like a typical dad, he gives in. He hands over his credit card so his daughter can hit the club, drink like there's no tomorrow, and possibly make some life choices she'll pretend never happened. Levon spots some mafia guys storming in, giving one of the workers a hard time. Without hesitation, he steps in and handles them like a boss and asks them to leave. Jenny sees the whole thing and instantly gets curious. She asks Levon if he's some ex-military guy. He tells her to keep it to herself. Basically pretend she didn't just witness a one-man action movie live and up close. But Jenny's still into it. She says he should teach her how to fight, but Levon is not interested. Before heading out, she offers him some food. Probably her way of trying to get on his good side. Later that day, Levon drives up to see his daughter, Mary, at her grandpa's house. The second she sees him, she runs straight into his car. Clearly, not your average happy family setup. Levon heads for a quick, tense chat with his father-in-law. The guy's rocking some strange fashion choices. But more importantly, he's got full custody of Mary. After Levon's wife passed, the court decided he wasn't fit to raise his own kid. So now he gets 2 visits a week. And that clearly eats him up. The old man blames Levon for everything that happened to his daughter. No love lost there. Levon takes Mary out to eat and gives her a gift. It's a photo of her with her mom, simple, sweet, and heavy. They both miss her more than they know how to say. And yeah, it hurts. Determined to fight for his daughter, Levon meets with his fancy-ass lawyers to discuss the custody case, only to receive bad news. The situation is getting worse, and his father-in-law still blames him for his daughter's suicide, believing that if Levon hadn't been away in the military, she would still be alive. The reality, however, is that she had been battling depression for a long time. Despite the odds stacked against him, Levon refuses to give up and hands over every penny he has saved to continue the legal battle. He even rents a dirty old apartment, only one he could afford, hoping that a stable home might give him a better chance of winning custody. Scene shifts to Jenny and her friends at a clubhouse, drinking, partying, and enjoying themselves. The fun, however, doesn't last long. A shady bartender notices Jenny and discreetly informs a mafia member named Viper about her presence. Before she realizes the danger she's in, one of her friends rushes to the bathroom, leaving her alone. Within seconds, a group of kidnappers ambushes her and takes her away without a trace. The next morning, Levon arrives at work and immediately notices cops walking out of Joe's office. Joe and his wife, clearly in a state of panic, rush to Levon and beg him to help find their daughter. He refuses, making it clear that he has left that kind of life behind and isn't interested in getting involved. Desperate, Joe offers him $50,000 to take the job. He takes the money, but still refuses to help. That's confusing as hell. Anyways, Levon heads straight to his friend's house. Gunny, an old military comrade who went blind after an incident. Gunny understands the weight of the situation and reminds Levon that finding Jenny isn't just about money. It's about doing the right thing. With that in mind and 50 G's in his pocket, Levon makes his decision. Determined to bring Jenny back, he returns to Joe and gives him his word that he will find her. That night, he starts his search at the bar where she was last seen, going over every detail until he finds something. Jenny's jewelry lying in a nearby alley, confirming that she was taken from there. With this new lead, Levon wastes no time tracking down the shady bartender, who ratted out Jenny to the mafia and pays him a visit at home. The man pretends to know nothing, but Levon insists in his own way, and the bartender agrees to give in and starts talking. Levon is just about to get some answers when the bartender's backup arrives. Levon takes them all down like it's just another Tuesday. After the dust settles, he searches the bodies and they're all tied to the mafia. Before heading out, he grabs their cash and some weapons. Smart move. The next day, a crew of gang members led by some guy named Wolo shows up at the house. And it's not hard to see what went down here. Blood, bodies, and a whole lot of bad news. Realizing someone is on their tail, they waste no time cleaning up the mess and getting out of there. What they don't realize is that Levon is already on their ass, tailing them all the way to their safe house. Once there, Levon does what he does best, sneaks in, takes control, and ties up Wolo like a present under the Christmas tree. When the guy finally wakes up, he tries to act tough, warning Levon that he's making a huge mistake. Levon, who has heard this kind of crap way too many times before, is completely unfazed. Instead of playing games, he demands to know where Jenny is. Wolo, being the stubborn idiot that he is, refuses to talk. That's when Levon decides it's time for a little waterboarding session. Except, instead of stopping, he leaves Wolo to his fate. Levon gets the name Dimi out of Wolo, who is the mastermind behind Jenny's kidnapping. Wasting no time, he sets out to track him down. Meanwhile, a vampire-looking master gangster, Yuri, who is a big shot, arrives at the safe house and finds Wolo very much unalived. Yuri immediately orders the entire crew to hunt down both Dimi because he is a pain in the butt, and Levon. Needing more intel, Levon reaches out to a cop friend and asks for details on Dimi. The response isn't exactly comforting. Dimi isn't just some street thug. He's a major player in the mafia. Still, the cop gives Levon the address of a bar where the gang likes to hang out. That night, Levon heads to the bar, but it doesn't take long for security to clock him as an outsider. One of the bouncers sizes him up, notices he's got a fat stack of cash, and decides he's important enough to meet a guy named Dutch. But Dutch isn't stupid. He immediately suspects Levon of being an undercover cop, and has the whole bar ready to beat him senseless. Unfortunately for them, Levon is more than ready, and within minutes, the entire bar is either unconscious or begging for mercy. Just as he's about to take out one last guy, Dutch stops him, realizing that Levon isn't a cop, but our hero ain't no punk. He's an effing working man. Sensing an opportunity, Levon plays along and pretends to be interested in a drug deal. Dutch, eager to make some cash, agrees to set up a meeting with the mafia's top dealer. The next day, Dutch comes through, delivering the goods and setting up a meeting between Levon and Dimi himself. When they finally meet, Dimi isn't about to hand over any drugs without making sure Levon isn't some undercover rat. So, he asks him for a photo ID. Levon has no choice but to show his driving license. A stupid but necessary move. Levon gets the drugs and leaves. Once he is in the clear, he immediately dumps the blue stuff because, let's be real, he is too old for this crap, or he might not be interested. Who knows? During his meeting with Dimi, he recognizes one of the goons from Jenny Pictures' Viper, so he decides to get back to Dutch's bar to keep a check on him. While keeping tabs on the gang's movements, hoping to get closer to Jenny, he is spotted by the CCTV operator, who calls for backup. Levon realizes he's being hunted. He makes a break for it, grabbing a motorcycle and taking off. But after a wild chase, he ends up caught by some crooked cops on Dimi's payroll and thrown into the back of a van. Of course, that's Jason Statham in reality, so he kicks the crap out of the bad guys, then shoots them and disappears into the night. On the other hand, Yuri is beyond pissed. Finding his men unalived and realizing someone is cutting through the mafia like a wrecking ball, he decides it's time for an all-out war. He gathers every mafia member and updates them of the situation. At the same time, Dimi gets a visit from Yuri, who shows him Levon's image from the CCTV and asks if he recognizes the guy. Dimi says he met the man once during a deal, nothing major, and that he has an image of his driving license. That's when Yuri drops the bomb. If Dimi isn't careful, he'll be next on Levon's hit list. The tech unit of the mafia runs Levon's info from the driver's license Dimi handed over. And boom, they figure out exactly who he is, and even dig up details about his family. The next day, while picking up his daughter from school, Levon gets a bad feeling. Something isn't right. Moments later, he finds out that his father-in-law is in danger. Without a second thought, he rushes over, only to find the house completely on fire. Wasting no time, Levon runs straight into the burning building, pushing through the smoke and flames until he finds his father-in-law. He drags the old man out to safety. But one thing is clear. This isn't over. If they were willing to go after his father-in-law, then Mary is definitely next. With no other choice, Levon takes her to the only person he trusts, Gunny, He leaves her in his care, knowing she'll be safe there, before arming himself to the teeth. The fight isn't just about Jenny anymore. It's personal now. Jenny is trapped in a car with Viper and his girlfriend. But Jenny isn't about to sit around and wait. The second she sees an opening, she attacks them and bolts out of the car and runs straight into the streets, dodging traffic like her life depends on it. Because, well, it does. She spots a police car and breathes a sigh of relief, thinking she's finally safe. Big mistake. Turns out, these are the same crooked cops from earlier. The cops take her back to Viper. Later, Viper gets a call from some rich scumbag who wants the company of Jenny for some time. Viper accepts. Meanwhile, Levon has finally tracked down Dimmy, and let's just say he's not in the mood for small talk. He demands to know where Jenny is, and Dimmy, realizing his life is hanging by a thread, spills everything. He rats out Viper, revealing that he's the guy responsible for finding and abducting. Levon, having no use for Dimmy anymore, takes him out and moves on to his next target. Next, Levon goes to the address that Dimmy provided. Turns out, it's a place with a lot of bad guys with big guns and some wealthy rich people having the best time of their lives, doing some questionable crap. Jenny is also there and being presented to the rich man who agreed to pay a large amount to Viper for her. Levon attacks, all the bad guys open fire at him, some even attack with knives like Dutch, but they all miss every single shot they fire at Levon, while Levon doesn't miss even a single aim. Levon rocked, while the bad guys are shocked. Levon takes care of Viper, while Jenny takes out his girlfriend. By the time Yuri shows up, it's too late. Levon saved Jenny and wiped the floor with his crew. All Yuri can do now is scream into the void, like a guy who just lost everything. Because, well, he kinda did. With the nightmare finally over, Levon brings Jenny back home, reuniting her with her parents. And finally, after all the chaos, fighting, and near-death experiences, Levon, Mary, and Gunny's family sit down for a peaceful lunch. No explosions, no gangsters, no running for their lives. Just a quiet moment. My review of The Working Man. Well, Jason Statham is no Bruce Willis, but he is still fun to watch. Even though his movies usually have the same kind of story, this one was still exciting. I knew what was going to happen, but I still enjoyed it.